They're calling it the second largest failure of a financial institution in U.S. history. Silicon Valley Bank collapsed on Friday morning, the 16th largest bank in the United States that's made a name for itself by catering to the financial needs of tech companies around the world. Well, the news has sent investors scrambling, and more specifically, Israeli tech startups, many of whom have much of their money sitting in this bank and didn't manage to pull it out in time. So what happened here, and what does this mean for the future of the tech world? Well, joining us now is I-24 News host and our economic analyst, Ariel Margalith. So before we actually get into what happened, just give us some background about this bank, about SVB, and how it came to be, what its reputation was like until now.
It had a very good reputation. It was basically the bank for more than 50% of startups and high-tech companies in Silicon Valley. It had a long history. It was founded in 1982 by two entrepreneurs. Their goal was to give financial services to the tech sector, to startups and to technology companies. And it saw a huge boost during the COVID years. There was all the tech shares went up. There was a lot of borrowing and lending. Interest rates were very low, and the bank flourished just until very recently.
All right, so break that down. What went wrong here?
Well, basically what happened is that the interest rates in the United States went up. The stock markets have been plunging recently, and the bank found itself in a situation in front of its lenders in which it basically was asked to give money. There was a lot of withdrawals by customers who needed money because this is a difficult time, and they were using a lot of the reserves that they had in the banks. And the bank found itself basically in a situation where it needed to raise more money itself in order to stand in all of its commitments in front of its clients. So the bank announced on last Wednesday, that it had to raise around $2.25 billion or so. Not such a huge amount, which made investors, clients of the bank withdraw more than $42 billion within 48 hours just because they were afraid of what we saw in 2008. They were afraid that there was going to be a collapse. So it was, if you may, a reporting issue. And I'm sure that's going to be investigated widely with the bank. Was this the right language to use? You know, could they have gone around it in another way? Basically, that led all the clients of the bank to a disaster. All of that money was withdrawn, and the bank's share collapsed by more than 60%, you know, in no time, and that was the end of the story, basically.
So I'd like to talk about Israeli startups and how this affects them, because, you know, there are a lot of economists, analysts here in Israel who say this is big bad news for Israeli companies.
So first of all, we have to note there are some Israeli companies that are invested, that have money, that is deposited at the bank. Some big clients, both startups. We don't know of all of them, of course, but some of the big ones have noted that perhaps as much as 75% of their assets are deposited with Silicon Valley Bank. What we do have to bear in mind is that Sunday evening, the Federal Reserve Bank in the United States intervened and ensured that the money was safe for depositors. Why are they doing that? Not because they care so much about the Israeli companies, but because they care about the American companies. Those are, the Fed said, companies who stand at the head of American innovation, who provide jobs across the United States, and they're going to be rescued. Their deposits are going to be safe, no matter what the amount is, by the way, because there was a discussion about only amounts lower than $250,000 that would be safe. So that money is safe for now, according to the Federal Reserve Bank in the United States. And the Fed said it's not going to use taxpayers' money this time in order to bail out these banks. So it's not going to be a bailout, but these funds will be available starting Monday morning. So we'll have to see about that. Another thing that's happening, the bank has branches across the world, from China to Israel to Denmark to the United Kingdom, etc. The UK branch of SVB was acquired by HSBC. So that's also good news for customers who have their money in the United
Right.
Kingdom branch.
Okay, so I guess the question is this the start of a banking crisis as we know it so far? What is going to happen next? And obviously, we also saw a big scare to the crypto world as well, because this was not the only bank that is struggling as of recent.
Well, I think what we're seeing already since SVB collapsed is both Silvergate and Signature banks that are collapsing. Signature is a New York-based bank that was very well known. It had it was lending money to a lot of real estate deals. Also, was very much in the taxi and cab driver industry. So that collapsed just because of panic in the markets, if you will. Silvergate for now was freezed by the federal government, and we'll have to see what the next steps will be.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you so much.
Stock markets are also plunging.
Yeah.
In Europe, in Israel, and across the world due to those banks collapsing. We have to put an eye on that.
Well, I mean, we could just continue talking about this probably for the rest of the show, but unfortunately, we're out for a quick commercial break, my friends. Ariel, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us, breaking down the big news of the financial world. I mean, this is really what's making all the headlines right now.